Average at best cornhole here, black flag cornhole. Didn't really have any experience with them. Saw them around a little bit, kind of like that theme, that whole pirate on all their series and their ships and all that. So they come out with a brand new bag for the 2025 season, the Swindle. Grab a set of those, reach out to Black Flag, and I'm like, what's going to match up well with this? And we decided on the cutter. So here we have the Swindle and the cutter.
Are you guys ready? Because we're going to get into the baggage here. We're going to start right off with the speeds. All right, we'll start with the Swindle, and we have 8.5 on the fast side with these and a 5 on the slow side. And then right over to the cutters, we have a 8 on the fast side and then a 5.5 on the slow side. So a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, those are pretty similar, though. A little kind of a tongue twister.
It was, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we are familiar with these slow sides, and we always felt that this one does play just a hair faster than that one, so that makes some sense. And the fast sides, they're pretty comparable also, though, I thought.
They are, and maybe it's just me, but that natural R carpet tends to always seem a little bit slower than the other R carpets. That might just be a me thing, but it seems to happen all the time.
We'll jump into materials, and the Swindle, it does have that popular clone hybrid. We call that one the clone hybrid. It's the same one you'd find on the Guardian, the Wolverine, the Darts. The cutter, now it has that R hybrid that you'd find on Viper R or the Rippers. The fast sides are a little different, and the fast side on the cutter, it's just so soft, isn't it? I don't know. It's unique to me. It's super soft. It actually really reminds me of the Wolverine fast side, but I know it isn't.
Yeah, it feels a lot like the Wolverine side. It even kind of pills up a little bit like the Wolverine does, which you don't see on a lot of fast sides. Now, the template on these are just basic large template, and they're both a little bit thinner, and the Swindle actually comes in a little bit thinner than the cutter has. You could feel it in your hand.
Yeah, I felt like the Swindle was definitely a really, really thin bag. Moving on to the fill and flop. Now, the website claims that both of them have a mixed fill. These Swindles, they are super floppy. We were saying they're thin. They're also very floppy. And just feeling the bag, it could be a mixed fill, but I think it's mainly more flat and some discs or whatever. The cutter, they're not as floppy. They're still pretty floppy bag, though. And then I felt some rounds in there. So I think it's more of a control fill to it compared to the mixed fill in the Swindle.
That makes sense. All right, on to the bagmanship, and no real issues here, right? A few, strings hanging on the tie off of the closing seam. But other than that, the quality's been excellent. These bags have been thrown quite a bit in all conditions, including outdoors and things like that, and they're holding up just fine. I mean, you may think we got your normal, pull here and there, but nothing out of your ordinary. So, I mean, these guys may be pirates, but they're not going to steal your money.
I did kind of think that the Swindle fast side, it did snag quite a bit, actually. I mean, I've been trying to fix them, but it's the material thing. That's not a quality thing. Right. And also, I did notice that this is also not a quality thing. It's just it's like they didn't fold their seams over enough when they sewed, or maybe they like that design, but all the bags have the dark black all the way around right where the seam is. Again, that could be the design, or they just didn't fold it over enough.
Yeah, or even just a method to, when they print it, they know that that's where the fold's going to be. So kind of a border for their manufacturing of it.
Onto our slide up, and we'll touch on the break-in method. We just did a vinegar soak on them. This natural R hybrid, it does come pretty stiff and starchy from the factory, so I think it needed a little bit. It actually worked out really good for this, because we've had other bags with this same color, and they never got to this point. Like, it's as soft and, as smooth as it feels.
Yeah, not even close. That's the softest variation of that color that we felt yet, for sure. All right, getting into the forgiveness on these two bags, I'm going to give the nod to the Swindle a little bit. It's a little thinner. It doesn't feel to have as many roll beads in it as the cutter does, so you don't get as many unexpected kicks and stuff like that. Now, the cutter, on the other hand, it's still a pretty forgiving bag. It's, I would say a forgiving active bag, right? Which you don't see a lot. I was getting some unexpected, kicks and movement on it and stuff, but a lot more than other bags that, I would put in this category.
Whole bodiness, and we kind of felt like the Swindles had a little bit more whole bodiness than the cutters did. And I have no explanation for that, because it doesn't make sense, because this does have the more flat bead, but maybe since it is a little bit more floppier and looser, a corner would catch or something. or it's the fabric, or I really don't know. The cutters, you had to be a little bit more on your target for it to drip into the hole. As the swindles, found them just falling in.
Yeah, I experienced the exact same thing. I don't know if it's because of what he said, just a little bit extra flop. So if you're close to the hole, you got a better chance of getting that drip. Now, both of them had pretty good hole blottiness.
Yeah,
they were hole friendly, but if that's a deciding factor for you, we're leaning towards the Swindle.
But then collectability, I kind of felt like the cutter was a better bag at collecting. It's almost like the Swindle kind of bunched up a little bit too much and avoided the bag you were collecting, as the cutters seemed to grab onto it and take it in the hole with it.
Yeah, I think with it being a little bit floppier, sometimes you could have beads to one side of the bag. So if you don't hit it square to collect it, you're just kind of catching all bag and not getting beads. And that's where we were seeing it just kind of go by. All right, on to the capable shots. Both bags are going to be able to put up a blocker. That's, we're running, that's more of our throw now than anything. The cutter, it's in the name. It's definitely better at cutting. Super easy to move that bag right or left. I was probably my favorite thing about that bag. Maybe I was a little biased because of the name and I was expecting it to do that, but it delivered. So I was very excited about that.
It could work for you too then.
Yeah, right? It could work for you. Sometimes it's just all in your head, right? Yep. The Swindle, I was able to cut with that and stuff, but just not as well as the cutter.
Right, I agree with that. And I think the Swindle, like the whole time I was throwing it, I was just thinking, and this is a great bag for a beginner because it's forgiving. It just lands flat.
It does.
It goes straight. You don't have to worry about collecting and all that when you're just a beginner because you're just trying to run holes anyways. And then the cutter, it is an active bag. I even noticed it bouncing a few times on me. Might have skipped over the hole. So I really think that that's a bag that you can do all the shots with, and people could probably roll them also. How will they make you better? And like I just stated, the Swindle, I think that's going to make a beginner better because it's so forgiving. It's going to be easy. It's not going to, hurt them if they don't have a flat bag and all that. And the cutter, I don't think that's the type of bag you would buy to learn how to roll a bag. Now, I said that probably people can, but people can roll any bag. I think that it would make you better if you want to learn how to cut, right? Or cut better because it was an active bag and it did help. It was easy to cut.
Yeah, absolutely. After the first time I threw these bags, Craig had just left them over my house for a little while, and then he took them back, and I was kind of missing that because I was getting in the groove with cutting. I was really just doing a lot of practice on cutting right, and the next bag cutting left, not even trying to go in the hole. And I felt really confident, and it was working for me with that bag. So if you're kind of where I'm at, where you're just starting to really get into dialing in your cuts in each direction, that's a great bag to get out there and practice with. All right, just a little company information and how you find these guys. As we mentioned before, there's pretty much all pirate themes with them. So that's what most of their bag names are. It's what most of their designs are.
Even the website's cool. It's all
the
website.
It's pretty cool. And you can just find them at blackflagcornhole.com. They also got a Facebook group, which is Black Flag Cornhole. And then they got a fan page, which is Black Flag Cornhole Hangout. Right? So go check them out. Check out their website, pay the bounty, and get a set of these bags.
Black Flag design. So these are the stock designs. I went with these ones because I'm cheap. They're $5 off compared to all the other designs, and they do have a ton more designs, like all pirate themed and all that. It's really a treat if you go to the website. Take a look because it's neat. They're colorful and they're very piratey. And that goes with availability on them. They all seem to be available on the website. Many different designs for these two series and all their other series.
All right, cost on these, and we're feeling pretty good about them, right?
Yeah, I'd give them a 3.75 bagger, I do believe.
Yeah, these guys, they may have some of the best priced ACL stamp bags on the market right now. Looking at the two, now these two, we have a pro stamp on the cutter and a comp stamp on the Swindle, and there's actually a price difference between the two.
There is a price difference, yeah. So the stock designs for the cutter, which is the pro stamp, which is all their other ones, are $70. The Swindle, which is the comp stamp, the stock design, is $60. Now add $5 for all their other designs, but still $75 for a pro stamp, $65 for a comp stamp, and there's discount codes available. It's a pretty good price. Our overall thoughts, and like I stated earlier, I really feel this Swindle is a great bag for a beginner. One, because it's priced well. Two, for the forgiveness. And three, it's just an easy bag to play with. The cutter, I was impressed. It's got to have one of the best hand feels I've ever had in a bag, just because both sides are super soft, and sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between them.
Yeah, overall, I enjoyed both these bags. I wish they were a little fuller for me personally, though. That's just a personal preference, not a knock on the bags at all. So hopefully Black Flag starts kind of doing what everybody else is doing these days and having an L and an R and an H version, because I would reach out and pick up an H version, and I think I would be a lot more fond of these bags and pick them to go throw on a regular basis. But overall, you can't go wrong when it comes to the pricing, the materials, the quality, and what these bags are capable of. All right, so last we're just going to say why we actually recommend these bags. We mentioned a few times the Swindle is great for a beginner, great hole runner bag, very forgiving, going to give you a lot of confidence. So if you're a new player just getting into these more advanced bags, this is a great start with the Swindle. And then the Cutter, because of its capabilities, how well it is actually at cutting. And again, the hand feel on that bag is just one of the best you're going to get because both sides feel soft. They still play different speeds. So it's just an enjoyment to have in your hand and play a game of cornhole with.
So we're going to end this with everybody's average of something. If you're going to be average, may as well be average at cornhole.